So okay, so first thing I just want to say is I really enjoyed coming in the Christmas time to help with the formal dinner. That was really well, and the kids were all so polite, and it was wonderful to see everyone dressed up in that. But so when you need help again with that, let me know.
Thank you.
I will be here. So something to keep an eye out for right now is the school accountability survey pillar. School accountability pillar surveys are out right now, so you can do them in paper. They've been mailed to you. You should have gotten them. It's grade 4, grade 7. Grade 4, grade 7, grade 10. Grade 10. So I'm not sure, does everyone get them here? Because we're smaller school? Yeah. So if you have them, please do them. You can also go online and do them as well. And that helps with our school accountability pillar results, obviously. And the more that answer those, the better it is for us. So if you guys can do that, that would be great.
Do you mind if I interrupt with a quick question?
Yes. No, I don't.
I'm a joint parent. So is it only to the main address then that the pillar would get sent?
I believe so.
My
Okay,
understanding is
so
yes.
I didn't get that then. Okay.
I don't know if we can go.
We haven't sent it out yet.
Oh, we haven't.
No, it's
Okay.
gone live. We haven't sent it out yet. I was waiting for the meeting to introduce it, and then
I'm sorry. See, I take your thunder all the
No,
time.
yeah.
But I have something.
Okay, anyway, I was just
got-
curious.
I got
Sorry.
mine.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the mailed one?
Yeah.
Mailed ones.
Okay.
Okay, so the mailed ones have gone out. The online one,
I guess that's
Will
as a
be coming
parent, a joint parent in a joint custody situation then, one parent only will receive the letter, the main contact.
sounds like it.
Okay.
Seems like
that would be
it.
my understanding. Yeah.
But can she do it?
I don't.
I don't see why
Because then
not.
you'd get the link and
You get the link.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's that. The biggest thing right now is obviously we're in a new year, but we are anxiously awaiting the 2021 budget. We have been told that it should be released sometime the end of February. And with that, one of the biggest things that we're anticipating or looking forward to hearing about is the new funding formula, which will be coming. They say we may get it by the end of January, but the last I heard on Friday, that's probably not going to happen. So it probably won't be till sometime in February. And then we can start taking a look at how that's going to affect us. They do say that they're going to try to be more fair, to support rural schools better. Now we know in the transition funding, we were classified as a metro board, so don't know where we're going to sit with that, but we'll just anticipate. We're anxiously awaiting, I guess, that. And once we get that, then we'll know a bit more. And then in terms of other things for you guys to know, just one more piece I have to get here. So we are going to be doing some, we're anticipating some changes to our transportation fee structure. That's coming tomorrow at our meeting. And I do have some key messages I can share with you guys. And I'll just read through them so I get them correct. But we will be discussing this and voting on this tomorrow at our meeting. But sort of the general thing with key messages on student transportation fees is that effective the 2019-2020 year, changes by the Minister of Education to school transportation regulation allowed school boards to charge eligible students for transportation services. So what that means is an eligible student would be a student that lives greater than 2.39 kilometers away from their designated school. So right now, those children receive funding from the government for transportation. Anyone under that chooses to either take a bus to school or go to their non-designated school has to pay fees. We are now allowed to charge those eligible students. By finding internal efficiencies and reallocating resources, the board was able to avoid increasing bus fees during this year. So far, other boards have had to do that. We didn't feel it was fair to impose extra fees in the middle of the school year. The new fiscal reality in which we operate, though, means we must examine the possibility to changes to the current fee structure starting 2020 to 2021. The Board of Trustees requested a review and analysis of the structure of the current transportation fee schedule in order to make an informed decision about transportation fees for the 2021 year. And the board is considering a more equitable solution for families while maintaining current service levels provided. So one of the things with that we're looking around is the family rate. So right now, if a family has one child that's going on the bus to their non-designated school and is taking a pay ride, so taking a bus, lives closer and going to their non-designated school, they could be charged around, I believe it's $880. And if a family of probably 4 or more, they top out at $900 in family rate. So we're seeing it as inequitable, right? So we want to look at some changes to that. So the current fee structure is unsustainable. Alberta Education provides transportation funding based on the following criteria. So students attending their designated school and residing greater than 2.39 kilometers to their school, or students attending a non-designated school and residing greater than 2.39 from both the designated school and the school they're attending. EIPS provides additional transportation services that exceeds the transportation mandate as outlined by Alberta Education for a Fee. Students who do not qualify for funding as per the above criteria I mentioned, students who attend a non-designated school, or students who access an additional bus to an alternate address, and that's our supplemental busing fee. And what that is if a child has to go to 2 different addresses, it has to hold a seat on 2 buses, there's a fee for that. Charging fees assist in recovering a portion of the incremental cost of providing these additional services. Factors that we must consider in order to maintain the current service level are the costs associated with MELT, which is the mandatory entry-level training. It's not going away. It is here to stay. We've been informed of that. There's additional training costs. There's hiring of the MELT driving instructors and increased salary costs for, it's actually 53.5 hours of training for that. Transportation funding from Alberta Education, the current funding model does not reflect the cost of fuel, wages, labor, or buses. And there's increased fuel costs, which is the federal carbon tax. So when the government got in, they said that they would get rid of the carbon tax. They did for a very short period of time. And they still did in terms of the provincial funding tax. But what happened is because we're not charging a provincial funding tax, the federal government has put one on us. So right now we're at a lower percentage, and then come, I believe it's April, it goes up. So we still have a carbon tax that did not go away. And another one of the things that is affecting us is the students previously eligible for funding to attend Y Elementary School. So we're the replacement one. They were transported across the highway. It was more than 2.39 kilometers. It's a lot of, the school is in their actual area now, so we don't get funding for those kids anymore because they're less than 2.3. And the increased insurance costs. So insurance across the province, I told you guys about that, has gone up, and Elk Island has $1.5 million short for that this year. So we will be talking about that at our meeting tomorrow, and then when I let you know, or when at our next meeting, I'll be able to report back on that. So I guess the main message is we're not sure how things are going to work out with the funding formula, what's going to happen with the rural urban piece, but things are going to change. Service levels will change. Service delivery is going to change. Staffing will probably change. There's going to be a lot of things, but we'll do our best to keep dollars in front of the kids in the classroom. And I think that's it. You probably have a lot of similar stuff. Any questions?
No? Anybody? Thank you, Colleen.
I actually have a question.
Go ahead.
For parents that wouldn't be able to pay the school fee or the transportation fee, is that something that they could apply for? That subsidy, they have to fill it out by the end of December. Is that
the
something?
waiving of fees? Yeah, there's criteria, and I think you'd probably come to you first, right? To the principal first, and there's criteria that you would fall under.
Okay.
And we've left it with the principal because they're the closest to the ground. They know what's going on with.
Historically, that I've noticed, we haven't touched transportation fees at the school level.
Oh yeah, you're right. Transportation fees, yes. We're talking transportation fees, not school fees. You would talk to the transportation division. But there is
There's a process.
There is a process. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, principal's report.
So some significant staffing changes coming up here going into second semester. So first and foremost, I want to introduce Brett Sonnenberg, who's going to be taking over as our assistant principal starting January 31st. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit.
Yeah, I've been at FR8 for the last 8 years. Taught several different things out there, and I'm just really excited to come out here and work with the meet. Get my feet wet. Really looking forward to it.
So welcome. With that, there's obviously some other changes that I included last month in my email that I can go through just so everybody's on the same page. So Penny Smith is going to resume her role as counselor starting again for second semester. Andrea Gavinchuk will go back to the teaching role that she was in previous to all the changes. We're also welcoming back Ms. Wendorf from her leave and Ms. Bays from her leave. So everybody that's coming back is here tonight. With those changes, Katie Fossum and Pamela Stockley, who have been with us through this first semester, will be gone going into the second semester. So on a smaller staff, that's pretty significant, the number of changes that we've gone through. So just wanted to take a moment to actually commend our staff for going through all that and still doing a wonderful job in front of our kids and being good, outstanding teachers and classified staff members while we navigated those changes. And I think now going into second semester, we'll be able to smooth things out and everybody will be back into their normal roles and be a little more comfortable with what they're doing on a daily basis. Second thing, I just want to echo what Trustee Holowichuk said regarding the Christmas dinner. I want to thank you all for all your work in supporting that. The kids absolutely loved it. I know the staff really appreciated it. And it's just really, really great to get the parents in the school like that. So thank you for all your work with that. We also held a very successful Souls for Souls campaign. I'm not sure if that word got out, but I'm not sure the exact number. We got a lot of shoes that we were donating. So I'm really proud of the effort that Ms. Fossum put in to organize that, as well as for all the kids and staff members who donated to that cause. Something I wanted to bring your attention to that we just kind of put together as we're waiting for the meeting. Credit actually goes to Mr. Starko, but I'm pretty excited to share it. He found this app called S'more, and it's a newsletter developer, which allows us to quickly put information together and get it out to parents on it very, very quickly. It's drag and drop. I'll just quickly show you guys what it looks like.
This is what we did in 10 minutes.
This was 10 minutes. Got the exam schedule, updates as far as key dates that are coming. And what we really want to get away from is that passive information where we're counting on parents to go to the website or signing up for a reminder, whatever. This will be blasted out on a weekly basis. It's cell phone friendly, so it's not going to come up all wonky on your phone. So it'll look the way it looks right here. If you choose to ignore it, you can choose to ignore it, but at least it's coming straight to you. Really trying to get around, again, counting on people accessing the website and trying to get the information to you in a timely manner. So we're going to start putting that out. I'm a little bit late for this week, but it'll be a test drive this week. And then on a weekly basis, we will do that. Really great because, again, it's not cumbersome on whatever staff member is responsible for it, because it's really meant to be a cut and paste kind of thing where teachers submit, okay, this is the event I've got it going on. It's 2 lines. She takes it out of the email, pops it in, and off it goes. So hoping that the parents are able to appreciate that.
How does it push notifications out? Is it email?
It'll be an email, just like our messenger notifications that you get. So I think what we're going to aim to do is probably on a Sunday afternoon, you'll get it. So we'll compile at the end of a school week for the following week. You'll get it on the weekend, so it's not
We'll
mixed in with
probably
other.
send out an information on the thing about how to actually get the website as an applet on your phone, and then you can always just click on the applet on the phone, and then it will pull up any relevant information.
So excited to try that for second semester. Fort's been doing it for a couple weeks, and Starko's been really happy with the results. So I'm happy to say I stole something from him. So that's the good news. The bad news, if the info hasn't gotten to parents, unfortunately, Cobb's in Fort Saskatchewan closed down, which means our supplier of roughly a year or so is no longer able to supply us with the bread that we've been able to provide for our students and staff, which is obviously a huge blow for a number of reasons. Not only were we able to take care of some kids in need, but it was really a great community builder. So with that, we are looking for sponsorship. A couple of the staff members who've got spouses working in different areas have reached out to those companies to see if we can't get some financial sponsorship so we can go out and get whatever we can get to keep the program going. But we're in the middle of exam break right now, which kind of worked out well time-wise. So we've got some days to figure this out, but obviously it was pretty disappointing for us when that happened. And not only just for us, I know a number of schools in the Fort were reliant on their support as well. So really too bad, but we are working to maintain it somehow. Finland update, our guests have confirmed their dates. So they will arrive on May 1st and depart on May 10th. So it's a little bit longer trip this time. With a little bit bigger group than we were anticipating as well. So we've now got 2 teachers and 2 administrators. So both their principal and assistant principal are coming now, plus the 13 kids that we knew about. So the group seems to keep growing. I'm not on campus. With that, the one request we do have of school council, and we can chat about this after we're in the middle of my report, doesn't matter. So I sat down with Starco and Jeff Spady from central office just to plan the itinerary for the week. Our hope was to move our Lamont Cultural Night from the Monday, which would be their first night with their billets, to the Tuesday evening, just so they have a night to settle in with the families. So with your approval of that, I hope we can make that work. Thoughts?
Be the 5th?
The second, wouldn't it?
No.
No, it's the
The
fifth.
second is Sunday.
Oh, I
We
thought-
don't have any retirements this year.
We don't? Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine with me, ladies. Well, it's up to
I
us
think it
three,
was all-
basically.
It was all good for you.
Yeah.
There was somebody before who,
I remember
Yes,
something came up, but
I
I,
can't remember what. Yeah.
in thinking about what would be best for those families that are hosting, this probably makes a little more sense just to let the kids get settled in and meet their families.
I think we changed it because it was long service.
Yes.
Oh,
why we
it's
moved
long
it to the
service.
Monday.
That's right.
Yes.
But we
That's
since
why-
found out we don't have any retirement, so it doesn't really hit.
Okay.
I don't have to
Tuesday's
be
fine
there.
then. Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Quick facility update, and I actually have to add a couple bullets to this after I'm done. So the tables in common area, if you hadn't noticed, have been pulled out because they were deemed to be unsafe. After years of being welded back together, it was finally decided that they weren't able to hold up anymore. The reason they were taken out now is because the plan is for this summer is to get the flooring in the common area to match the junior high wing. So it's a 3-year process. We're in year 2 now. So that's the plan for this summer. And then funding provided, we can look at some furniture. Quite honestly, I'm really liking the flexibility that we have with the tables being able to move as opposed to being fixed to the ground. The one kicker, just so you guys know, we have what's called IRMAR funding. Basically, it's a fancy term, acronym. I can't remember what it stands for, but any major structural changes goes through that funding. We can only access IMR funds for things that are literally stuck to the ground. So if I want money for the tables, they have to be fixed to the floor. If we want movable tables, the school has to pay, and as we'll get to with the budget, I'm not so sure that'll be possible. That said, we've got the Costco tables in there, and after the first day of griping that they didn't like them, it's been quiet and fine. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but that is on the horizon. Another thing that we're currently looking at are ways to improve school security. One of the big concerns I've had since I started here really has to do with the ability for public to access our building during school hours without having to sign it. Many times it's, whether it's patrons in the library or people just walking in, because of the way our office is constructed, sight lines aren't great for the ladies in the office or myself or the assistant principal. And so literally I'll go for a walk down the hallway and see a parent or a student that I don't recognize or what have you. So really trying to force the idea that we want people signing in before they enter our building. So we're working closely with facilities on that piece. And then just yesterday, we had a minor little flood in the mechanical room that got taken care of. And then the boys' bathroom in the high school wing also had a flood. Just FYI, no big deal. It's getting fixed, but since I was talking about facilities, I thought I would share. Fee collection for 1920. Just to give you an update as we're approaching the halfway point of the school year. I know for the first year I was here, I harped on athletics fees not being collected. We are doing way better in that area. We've gone to that idea of no pay, no play, and it's working much better than I anticipated. So,
currently volleyball and basketball are all up to date, 100%.
Ms. Love?
Not
for this
all
year.
basketball, the cutoff was,
The 15th.
yes.
Yes.
So there's a couple families that reached out and put a
Okay.
payment plan in place.
But they have reached out, so
Correct.
it is all. good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And to clarify, I want to stress that both Mrs. Lyles and I have made that abundantly clear to the families that we just need to know that you're prepared to pay. So whether it's $50 a month or you give us a lump sum, as long as we know it's coming, we're okay with that. We're happy to work with families. It's when we don't get any communication and the fee waiver process hasn't been followed, that's when it turns problematic. Which brings me to my next point. Fee collection around school fees and particularly option courses is where we're really struggling. We're currently out to the tune of $16,500. Much of that talking about option fees. Actually, that's part of why I've asked Mrs. Lyles to be here. Do you have that piece of paper that you shared with me this morning? The one with the highlighted stuff? So I'll let you speak to this real quick and then I'll jump back in.
So this is just a report that I can run at any time. There's no names or anything. Those are just the classes that are offered. The pink are classes, fee classes that are paid in full, that there is no outstanding balance. The blue are things that are the same or more than what has been paid. What's due is more than what has been paid. So you can see that several of our classes haven't even paid enough to come halfway. And then the rest still have outstanding balances. So that's just an idea of how few people are actually paying for their classes.
So in light of this, we have decided to make a shift to bring us in line with many of the other high schools in Elk Island Public Schools. So starting next week, admin will be starting to make phone calls to the parents of students who have outstanding option fees from semester one, and they'll be informed that if we do not receive payment or arrangements for a payment plan, their son or daughter will be removed from the expensive option and placed into a less expensive option for semester two. So typically that's your construction, foods, and cosmetology. So those are, and contact sector pricing one too. So if we haven't received payment for semester one, you'll then be probably going into something that's module based and doesn't have a fee associated or a very nominal fee associated to it. Certainly not the direction we want to go. But it's again, in light of what we're talking about going into next year, it's something we need to do. To that end, we've since found out that going into a school year, we're also allowed to look at past financial history to make decisions about timetabling. So we are going to look at your fee payment history for 1920 when making decisions about 2021 scheduling. So rather than playing this game in the middle of the year, we'll just build a more efficient and effective timetable going into the school year. And if that means that we just offer less sections of the more expensive options and more of the lesser expensive ones, that's the direction we'll go.
Just a thought, because I know Kara shared about being a co-parent. You don't always know.
Yeah.
You might want to reach out to both set of parents.
Absolutely.
So I have a friend that never knows his kids are overdue
Okay.
on school fees because his ex is supposed to take care of it, and she doesn't.
Good to know.
So he comes in at the last day pretty much
To
make
take care of
sure
stuff.
and- Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the hope is if the athletics piece that we focused on last year was a model, hopefully that, this to incentivize people to keep the options that they want will help reduce the uncollected fees that we're living with. But quite frankly, at that amount, we won't be able to float the options we've been floating for the last couple of years.
how does it compare to previous year, like last year?
We're in a better spot than we were
Okay.
last year.
Yeah.
Again,
It was
it's,
over 20,000.
so the
last
3
year.
years prior to me being here, we were running roughly 24 to 26,000 each year. Last year, we got it down to 11.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But at this time, I think.
But at this time, we're
higher
sitting
even.
roughly, yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it used to be that athletics was a big money loser or whatever you want to call
So
it.
out of 100% of athletes, would you say we're at 85% fees collected?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and I would say 100% of everybody knowing and having a plan in place
Oh,
to have it
excellent.
paid
Okay.
by,
So it's definitely not our athletics that are
No.
the, yeah.
definitely not our athletics.
Yeah, and I definitely want to clarify that because I know there's been some misnomers that it's athletics that's driving the shortfall. That's not the case.
And a few years ago, it was.
That's right. That's right. But we just need to change the narrative because the school fees being collected is also important because I know there's this sense that the school should be able to cover options, but those are the materials in those courses are very, very expensive, as both of you can attest. So we have to be cost recovery or we won't be able to offer those options.
Question. So is there some kind of weighting? And I'm just curious in general. So for families that do pay their option fees versus families that access the waiver option, when you're looking at scheduling for the year coming, does that play a role at all?
If a family applied for a waiver and was successful in achieving that waiver, we would never disadvantage a
the
student.
same, yeah.
This again, if a mom or dad or a guardian picks up the phone and calls myself or Mrs. Lyles and says, "Hey, I just need some help. Can you work with us to make sure that we can set up a payment plan?" We are happy to do so, and we will never pull a kid out for those reasons, right? Nor would I ever say you can't play on a team. It's when we don't get any communication and the fee waiver process hasn't been followed where we're left basically assuming we're not getting any payment. And at that point, we have to do something a little more drastic. Make sense?
Completely.
So, as far as budget update, not much more than what Trustee Holloway shared. No firm numbers yet, obviously. Hoping for a budget in late February, early March, so that we can then start the process. The one thing's for certain, and again, just to echo, we anticipate some pretty significant changes to service level at the school. Whether that means on the classified side, one shift that we've already made, students who require readers or who have required readers in the past, we are now asking our teachers to record their exams digitally, and that's how they're going to be read to students, because we're convinced we're not going to have readers available for students who need them. So it's a pretty drastic shift. It's one our Drawson's already made as well, knowing that this is coming. So that's one. Once the budget is released, the staffing process will begin from the central office level, because they will likely have some people who will be coming back to schools, and then the trickle down from there will impact what we can do at the school level as far as hiring and such. And so the last bit, and the piece that's why we're live streaming, and that's why I've asked Mrs. Lyles to be here as well, is there's certain elements of our fee schedule that we've been asked to share with parents. So each school's doing this a little differently. What we wanted to do with the live stream is we wanted people to hear it directly from myself and Mrs. Lyles as far as the rationale. So rather than reading it on a piece of paper and making assumptions, we're hoping that people take the time to listen to the explanation for some of the fee changes that we're making next year. And then we're encouraging them to contact us directly if there's any further questions. So definitely open communication. We're happy to answer to any of the changes that we're making. We'd rather just come from us as opposed to assumptions being made or getting information second and third hand.
Is the camera on?
Yeah. So, as far as proposed changes, our school, given our fee history, we had already begun to make significant changes in our structure anyway. So one of the big changes we put in last year was we were asking teachers who were planning a field trip to ensure that they had at least 50% of their students paid up for that field trip 3 days prior to going, otherwise the trip wouldn't go. The thought being that we're not going to go through this whole process and go on the field trip and then try to collect fees after, because you're never going to get them. So we've been very successful in ensuring that we were collecting a big portion of field trip fees, or cutting back the number of field trips to ensure that we weren't running at a deficit on that side. So we're really happy where we are in terms of the shifts we've made, because it's ensuring that we're going down the right path of what some of the other schools are trying to now do. So it won't be as significant as departure for us as it might be for some other schools, because we've already started doing some of that work. A few of the highlights, I guess, to share. One of the big ones in terms of proposed cost increase would be to Drama 9, because they attend the One Act Festival in Ardrossan, which is very costly. I believe it's to the tune of $35 a kid. To date, we had been offsetting that cost as a school. We simply will not be able to do that going forward. So Drama 9 is looking at a $40 increase next year, and that is all related to One Act. So today is informational. The March meeting is when we'll propose those fee changes. At that point, if you guys as parents say, you know what, just scrap it, it won't happen. If you're supportive of it, we will continue on with that fee in place, and then we'll just work on ensuring that we collect as best as we can. So that's Drama 9. Personal image design and foods are 2 grade 9 options, and construction, I apologize. So those 3 are courses that are run with grade 9s in them as well, but they're high school courses. But for whatever reason, the grade 9s were being charged a different rate than the high school kids, even though they had the same level of consumables, same access to the teacher. So it really doesn't make any sense. So the shift for those 3 courses is going to be to bring the grade 9 fees in line with the high school kids. So for instance, sorry, I guess I'll give an example.
Foods 9 cooks in the high school foods class.
What's the difference though?
Oh, it's about double, because
Yeah.
junior high foods is every other day and high school foods is every day.
So
Right.
for example, this year we charged $42 for Foods 9, but $84 for Foods 10, even though the same kids were taking the same course.
It makes complete sense to up the cost.
Yeah. So we're just bringing the 9s in line with the high school kids because they're getting high school access, essentially. So those were the significant changes on the option side. The only athletic one that's looking at a jump is senior boys and senior girls basketball due to an additional tournament. So looking at 315 to 350. And that's something we can put to parents as well. So think on it. Is that something, do we want less tournaments? Are we happy with where the fees are? And again, we can talk about it, certainly. I'm not saying no discussion, but I would like
315, sorry, to what?
315 to 350. Or do we look at doing less tournaments? Do we look at maybe less overnight? Those are certainly on the table as well. And then we would take that back to Mr. Cocatello and plan more accordingly based on what you as parents think is in the best interest of our families.
So just to share, in 13 years, basketball fees for senior high have jumped $15. They were $300 when I first started here as a parent. So it's, to me, it's time. Like your
Yeah.
travel, everything's went up. Right?
And
But-
as you talked about with the cost of busing alone,
Yeah.
without
Oh,
factoring
yeah.
anything else in, it's time to bring those numbers up. Just to really, again, there's been instances where we as a school have had to offset the costs, and knowing that we're going to be taking resources out of the classroom, or hopefully not, but certainly supports for the classroom, I'm not inclined to then subsidize field trips or athletics when we don't have the supports in place for our students. It just doesn't feel right to me. That has to be the priority, I think, in the classroom. So questions around fees that I can help clarify, or was that clear as mud?
Can I just ask a
Please.
general question? So say our budget for the year is 100 grand. That's just random.
Round number.
So, but out of that, or that 100 grand, we're expecting to collect all our fees. So the 16,500 that you didn't collect is coming from somewhere now.
Something's paying for it.
So say now your readers are cut. If you were at zero collection fee, would that actually support another EA staff or something?
Two different pots of money, right? So-
Okay, that's what I guess.
We're
Yeah.
not,
Okay. It's just like, would this go to then resources,
I guess it's.
or do you
it's a-
not budget with fee money?
I don't budget with fee money. That's
Okay.
right. But if I'm knowing going into a year that, we're going to be out 15 to 20 and I have to offset that somehow, maybe that means a little less technology in the classroom. Maybe that means a little, you know what I mean? Like something's got to give because I still have to pay that off somehow.
So if we've got 50 Chromebooks, let's say, for example, and 25 of them are broken,
Correct.
but we don't have $16,500, that's
won't
why your
happen.
kids are using old Chromebooks.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a great analogy.
I just want people to realize
For sure.
how much it affects our school
Mhm.
by not paying your fees.
Absolutely. And it's little things like we wanted to add one security camera to the school. And the cost on one camera was $3,500. And I just, knowing that we were out 65, it was just something that we weren't prepared to do. But it is a need. Right.
Right.
So it's unfortunate, but we've got to make some of those tough calls, right? I did ask Ms. Lyles here to join us if there were specific questions that maybe that she could answer more in depth. So if you do have questions, this is a great time to ask because you have a captive business manager.
And just so everybody's clear, cores do not cost, there is no fees attached to core classes.
No, unless there's an additional field trip that's going.
Exactly, but this is not course. We're talking, it's all options.
It's all options.
Yeah.
And it's our options with high consumables.
The unfortunate part though is you need option to graduate.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, what type of option is.
Right, yeah.
And if that means that we have to offer, there's a ton of module courses out there like tourism and
I have
such.
a ton of business information ones
Yeah.
that can be free.
And that might be the route we go. And I'll put this out there just so parents aren't surprised. Like we have our student lounge that's sitting empty right now. One of the thoughts we've had is to fill that with tables or desks and one supervisor, and those kids are pumping out modules if that's what they have to do to get their option credits. It's not ideal by any stretch, but that might be a road we have to go. And that's the only room we have left. So
If nobody has any further questions, then I think we are going to wrap that and move on. And just again, reiterate, if you have further questions, please contact the school.
Perfect.
Okay, we are going to town council report.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
And Councillor Fels mentioned last time they're in budget meetings, so the town has passed and implemented the budget for this year. And like most small municipalities, the provincial budget affected us in the negative. And then they added on police funding costs. Every small town has policing costs now. So anyways, the good news is though that with some creative reallocation and shuffling internally, it came out to a 1% tax increase, which is pretty modest for town residents. Another good piece of information from the budget is after many years of trying and advocating and raising funds, they will be building a bike park this summer. So Bike Skills Park will be in town this summer, a small start to it, but just looking to have that. We're just contacting the builder right now and setting up contracts and terms of reference and scope and all that. So that'll be in Hillside Park. So that'll be something to look forward to for the kids for the fall, I hope. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep. And that's all I have. Unless there's any questions.
No, but thank you for the snow removal in front. They obviously listened. I like that.
Actually, overall, based on last year's study on our snow policy,
Yeah.
The last year's snow policy we had has, in my 15 years back in town, has been the quickest and most efficient of snow clearance.
Snow removal. That's been very good.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's always going to gripe, but you can go to any city, any town in the Northern Hemisphere, and you're going to find places that are move. But for the most part, it was done very effectively. I was actually, at the last council meeting, we did send our kudos on to Public Works for the.
I agree. Thank you. All right, so just we're going to move on now. Any questions for Dave? Sorry. So we're going to move on to old business, the Christmas luncheon. Just so, by the way, just fabulous job, everybody. Honestly, it is my favorite thing to do here at the school, and I'm going to be sad when my kids are done and we're moving on. But
You can come back.
You can come back.
we
You're
also.
not doing it.
Oh. Well, hopefully we'll have some other parents that'll take charge. And just on an off note, I believe my sister-in-law weighed all the donations. I think we had 285 kilograms of food to the food bank. So that was really good. So I guess next year, and I had talked to Ms. Smith about this, we need to be one day quicker. If we're doing food bank again, we need to be one day quicker so that they go out on Thursdays and collect all the donations from the other schools. So we need to be on board with that pickup date. So if we can be in line, that would be awesome. So that we're not doing it extra. And Finland, we're changing it to the 5th. And social media, I am excited. I'm going to speak for, I think, all of us parents that this new blurb thing that's coming is exciting. Yeah.
Good.
I'm happy.
We'll
So.
send the test one tomorrow, and then you'll get it. on a
And-
daily
Using
basis.
the Facebook.
And I am trying to use the Facebook more. I did post our link there. Don't know if anybody saw it,
Yeah, I did.
but if you know somebody that is on Facebook and wants to just accept, and I'll or ask for an invite and I'll accept you. I don't even know what the word is. Anyway, any new business? I don't think there is. So our next meeting is March 17th. If everybody could look at their calendars just to confirm that we have no conflict.
Mr. Sonnenberg.
I would be.
It's St. Patrick's Day. We wear green. Oh, okay. Anybody see anything that, because the break is the next week or the week after?
Week after.
All right, so we are set then for March 17th at 5:30 here in the lunchroom. And we are adjourning the meeting at 6:15.
And it's at 5:30, that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Next break for me.